Welcome to High Gluttony. I'm Gretchen.
And I'm Becca. And we're two curious ladies who like to cook,
Smoke,
learn,
and enjoy a meal with friends.
We invite you to join us every 10 days or so here at the High Gluttony Homestead and listen to us make a mess.
And have a lot of fun. So step inside, gluttoniers. Hello, Becca.
Hello, Gretchen. We are already moving fast. We're just hitting the ground running. We are still in Marcella mode, and we are making her carrot cake, which of course has some very interesting things about it. And we're going to do things a little bit differently today. And since this cake has a bake time of about an hour, we're going to try to get it going and get it in the oven and then sit down and share all of the very exciting things on our mind. But what are we drinking first?
So you found the cutest drink imaginable for what we were doing, because I suggested doing a carrot cocktail. And guess what, everyone? There's something called a bunny, Bunny, Mary, instead of a Bloody Mary. And it includes vodka or any other neutral liquor, carrot juice, honey syrup, lemon juice, caper juice, crystal hot sauce, and parsley for garnish if you like. But we know Becca is definitely not going anywhere near that. And I hate garnishing shit, so I didn't do that either. We did rim our
glasses.
Naked glasses. We did rim with pimento salt just to give a little fun texture around the top there. We're both really enjoying this. I like this twist on the Bloody Mary genre.
Yeah, the carrot juice adds a little sweetness. And then that pimento salt is just salt, smoked sweet paprika, which I had smoked or sweet. So I just did a little of both. And then some cayenne. So it's got a little spice on that rim, but then the drink itself it's just sweet enough. We added Worcestershire. Thank you. We added that too. But it's delightful. So carrot themed today. And we have started a couple of things, but we're gonna pick up with the important bits. And so our ingredients today are going to be 9 ounces of unpeeled almonds. We use unsalted, unroasted, and then 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar, 9 ounces of peeled carrots cut into 1-inch pieces, 4 ounces of ladyfingers. Ooh, ladyfingers. Crisped in a 325-degree oven for 20 minutes. We both bought our ladyfingers, so we did not bake those. 2.5 teaspoons baking powder, 1 tablespoon amaretto or another nutty liqueur, 1/4 teaspoon salt, and 4 large eggs with the yolk separated from the egg whites. And then once the cake's done, we're going to make some whipped cream with heavy cream and a teeny bit of sugar.
Yes. As I noted, it's the barest whisper because it's 1 cup of heavy cream and a teaspoon of sugar.
Tiny teaspoon. So what are we doing with all those ingredients?
Well, just to mention our special equipment for this episode, this is going to require a food processor or blender. I used a food processor. Becca used a blender. A 10-inch springform pan is helpful, but not essential. And we'll get into variations on that a little bit later. And then a hand mixer or a stand mixer, but we're both going to use our hand mixers today because it's just for a small amount of ingredients. Much easier to use than the stand mixer. And then our steps for this recipe. So this is the high level steps. We're going to chop the almonds and sugar together in the food processor or blender, and then dump that into a bowl. Then chop up the carrots very fine, add that to the bowl and mix. Chop up your ladyfingers in the food processor and add to the bowl, and then mix thoroughly. Then we are going to add our baking powder, liquor, salt, and then mix again. Add your yolks, mix again. Then we are going to whip our egg whites to stiff peaks. Then you have to add a small amount to help lighten the mixture a little bit before folding in the remaining amount. We are going to grease our pan with butter and then add the batter and bake for 50 or 60 minutes. And then once it's cooled to lukewarm, you can remove it from the pan. That is our high level, very fast overview.
Just a quick question to clarify. When you say add a little bit, so we're going to whip up those egg whites and then take just a little bit of the egg whites and put it into the mixture that we've already had going on the side, which is the ladyfingers and the carrots and all that stuff.
Correct.
And then add the balance of the egg whites.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm excited. Slightly intimidated and excited.
You're going to do great. It's fine.
What world level would you say this is then?
This is a world level 2. There's a little bit of that faffiness with having to do the whipped egg whites. This is a fairly common thing that's used in cakes. It's a little annoying, and I did end up having to make Becca redo her egg whites because she got a little yolk in there, and I said, just no, let's start over. Don't want to start with any of that yolk in there because it will make your life difficult. And but otherwise it's not hard, a little labor intensive, but not hard. So
okay, I can do that. So the first thing we're going to do is turn on our oven to 350 degrees.
Right.
Catch us up with what we've already done.
So we've already chopped up our almonds and sugar together, put that into a bowl. We've chopped up our carrots and added that to the same bowl. We chopped up our ladyfingers, but we held those to the side just because I was worried about them getting soggy from any moisture that the carrots would release while we were doing our chat. And then we have our baking powder, liquor, and salt all measured out. And I think that pretty much catches everybody up to where we are at the moment. And so when we get to the kitchen, the first thing we're going to do is mix in our ladyfingers. Then once that's mixed in thoroughly, we'll add that baking powder, the liquor, and salt. Make sure we get that mixed thoroughly. Then our yolks are going to go in, and then we are going to whip our egg whites. So,
okay.
Is that a good place to stop? I'm going to have a little smoky smoke before we run in there real quick. Do you have any questions about any of that before we go?
I'm excited. I'm ready.
What are you smoking today, Becca? Just since we have 2 minutes to cover that before we run into the kitchen.
Good point. I have an indica pen, but I can't find the label or the box that it came in. So I actually have no idea what it is other than it's an indica. But I did also have some tincture this morning, it's called a daytime tincture. And it has, for the total bottle, it's not a huge bottle, but it has 300 milligrams of THC and 1500 milligrams of CBD. So like a 1-to-3 ratio there, or 1-to-5 ratio of CBD. 5, yeah. Nice. So I'm just having a little bit of that and then smoking on this little indica pen and just trying to take it slow and steady today. Baking is always a fun, a fun thing. So we'll see how it goes. It's gonna be great.
Your skills are coming along. Yeah, I'm having a joint since I can't stop myself from buying joints all the time right now. And this is, I believe the name of this weed is peanut butter souffle, which I felt like was appropriate since we're making a dessert. And I really like these. These are from the company's called Lake Grade. These burn beautifully. Like this might be one of the nicest burning joints I've ever seen because when they burn perfectly cylindrically. They like I don't know how they do this, but it is one of the nicest burning joints I've ever seen in my life. So
that's so nice. It's so hard when you have a joint that's just like burning on one half and stop it.
There's no fixing it. It's just gonna do that. Like, yeah, I hate that. I hate it.
What I want. Yeah.
So yeah, like I mean, in this, like, so you can see already, like it's burned like maybe a quarter of an inch at the top. Stays like that until you knock it off. It's pretty amazing. Like it stays in one piece for the longest time.
That's awesome.
Okay, that's probably enough for me before we get started. As you said, it is baking, so I'll try and stay on task here.
You can't be too baked. Yeah.
I can't be too baked for baking. Here we are in the kitchen.
We made it. Are we supposed to mix the baking powder and the liqueur and salt together before it goes in?
I don't think so, because I definitely read it that way. We'll go into more detail about how she writes her recipe that is very confusing after we're done mixing this shit up.
Yeah, but, I was real confused about one part.
Hey, but now you have cream of tartar, so like that's just a bonus, and that shit never goes bad, so you'll be fine.
Okay, Phil. So we've got our ladyfingers, carrots, and almonds and sugar all mixed up. We're going to add salt, liqueur, baking powder.
Hang on, I have to mix my ladyfingers in. Hold on. Oh, and I'm mixing this with my hands. Yeah, we'll fully read the recipe as Marcella wrote it after this goes in the oven.
Okay.
I get my liquor.
Almond, give me all the almond things.
I know. I think I had mentioned to Becca before we started recording that I really wanted to make this with amaretti biscuits, but decided it was not appropriate to go making that part up as we go.
We've tried to stay faithful to Marcella. I mean, we'll talk about this more, but this is our last Marcella Marcella marathon, I guess. We're at the dessert. We decided it's okay to take a break. I'm positive we will come back to it, but it's okay to take a pause.
So I've got my alcohol, baking powder, salt mixed in really well, going in with my egg yolks.
Okay, same.
I need to wash my hands because I've been doing this with my hand.
Okay.
Because
you like
I was gonna say I don't think anywhere in the recipe she even mentioned stirring it by hand, but I'm just
right.
weird. That's what I'm like.
Can't stop Gretchen.
Can't stop me. I'm gonna do it with my hands. Well, now we are up to our egg whites.
We are up to our egg whites in this. Yeah.
I love that.
So we mix them into fluffy peaks, stiff peaks.
Yes, we're going to whip them. We're going to whip them into stiff peaks. Yeah.
We're not mixing. Got it. Okay.
We need more oomph than mixing is going to give us. Okay. So we need that aggressive whip.
Yeah, a firm handshake, not a limp little fishy shake.
No limp noodles here, no.
Yeah. Ready to whip it?
Ready.
Okay.
Go. Check where my peak status is. Oh, I am good. Okay, I just need maybe another. Where mine is at.
Can I see yours? Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't. Can you see this guy?
Kinda. Can you see mine?
Ooh, I think you're stiff.
I'm stiff.
You're stiff. You're stiff. Okay. I just need like another maybe 15 to 30 seconds. So
cool. Okay.
It's still falling over a bit, but I think if I go anymore, I might take it too far.
So now we put a little bit into the mix?
Yes. I think she wrote a few tablespoons. I'd probably do about this much, about a rough half a cup or so.
Okay. Like a mixing spoonful.
Yeah. If you have a Dream Farm spoon or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
Like a half of that.
Okay.
So mine's pretty thoroughly mixed, and I'm going to go scrape the rest of it. Yeah, mine were actually I shade too far. No wonder my peaks were falling over. I went over the top. Slightly too stiff. They are on the edge of breaking apart and starting to look curdy.
Uh-oh.
So yeah, gently. You want to do that swooping folding motion because you're trying to gently incorporate, keep that. Because the more you mix this, the more the bubbles break that are being held in by your eggs. And so you want to break as few of those bubbles as possible to mix this together. So you want to be pretty gentle with it. I mean, if you're too worried about like knocking the air out of it, you could also do this in steps more than she did, where you maybe add like half of the egg whites and then you can add another half.
Mm-hmm.
Because the original batter before we added these egg whites was very thick.
Yeah.
So did you already prepare your pan then? It's all ready to go?
We'll talk about this, but I have a 9-inch square and I haven't greased the pan, but I have like buttered the shit out of a wax paper to put on the pan. So I don't know if I should also butter the pan just in case, or will that be?
Yeah, it won't hurt you. I mean, it's not like 100% necessary, but.
Okay. So I'm still folding.
So am I. I just wanted to see where you were at. Since I'm just buttering and not needing to add paper.
You're a little step ahead, kind of.
Right. So I was just checking to see that. Because if your pan was all ready, I was going to stop and do my pan. But I think I've got this mixed plenty. Yeah, that looks great.
What's the texture? For consistency,
how can I describe this? It's got kind of a little bit more of a porridgey texture to it, is how I would describe it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's fairly smooth, but there's definitely a little bit larger sort of chunks to it.
Mm-hmm. Can I show you mine?
Yep. Oh, yeah. That looks great. Looks really similar to mine.
Perfect. I'll get my pan. buttered and then add my wax paper.
I feel like we both should put a sheet pan underneath our baking pans.
Okay, good idea.
I'm going to do it because I'm using the spring form, but you want to do it because it asks for a 10-inch, and I think I might have a 9-inch spring form, and you've got a 9-inch square. So since we don't really know like how that volume difference is going to affect the cake, just a better idea in case it's too much volume for your cake pan to put something under there so that it doesn't fall on the bottom of your oven.
Good thinking.
Sometimes I have good ideas. Now, I am intrigued by this cake. So Marcella is very specific in mentioning to make sure you level this without deflating it. And what I'm going to do to level mine is actually use what's the word I'm looking for? Offset spatula to smooth mine out. So I'm going to use a tiny offset spatula, which would be very delicate and gentle on my cake. Since I want to make sure that it's pretty level, it's really just a smoothing of the top, kind of getting corners pushed in here a little bit.
I'm going to be behind you because my oven's not.
Well, I think I can wait to do that. I can wait till you're ready, your oven's ready, and then we can put them in at the same time. So we have.
Okay.
Since like she has you stop and prepare the pan at the end, I figure it's not one of those cake that's gonna hurt it to sit, especially because with the way that the egg whites are whipped, that gives it actual physical structure. So you're not gonna lose as much of that air, rather than if you're doing chemical leavening with where the baking powder is helping, because that is a chemical leavening. And as soon as that hits water of any sort, it starts to work. That's why with most cakes, you kind of have to be quick about getting it in the oven because you'll lose some of that lift. But this one has that whipped egg whites, which is like a physical leavening. So you won't lose as much if you have to wait a couple minutes to pop it in the oven.
Okay. Like egg scaffolding.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it. Egg scaffolding. I fucking love that. We will use that from now on. If we ever do anything with egg whites ever again. Did you notice that for extra credit on my Bunny Mary, I went in a bunny glass, one of my bunny glasses from my trip to the UK?
I didn't notice, but that is perfect. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. Salt.
I know. It's good.
Well, I missed the fact that there was supposed to be cayenne in that rim stuff, but it's spicy enough with just the paprika. So for me,
you're good. Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah, I really like this drink.
Me too. I mean, I thought I might like it, but I really like it.
Yeah, and it has a couple of ingredients, but a regular Bloody Mary has so many steps to make it. You just get like one of them. I've been wanting more Bloody Marys, but I've been like lazy about it. So this is kind of a good, just like 5 ingredients and then move on. Okay, my oven's finally ready.
Yay.
Ready to go. In we go.
I'm glad this is supposed to go. I think it's supposed to go on the topmost rack.
I believe so.
Uppermost level of a preheated oven. Okay, so yes, I got it in the right spot. I'm setting my timer for 50 minutes because that's when we're supposed to start checking how done it is. And since I've never made this cake before, and neither one of us knows if it can cook faster. So
here we go. Okay, our cakes are in the oven. We are sitting back down and ready to listen from Marcella's book. Take us away, Gretchen.
The torta di carote. The outstanding features of this butterless, flourless, asterisk on the flourless, carrot cake are in its consistency. Firm but not leaden, satisfyingly chewy yet moist. Its flavor, nutty, aromatic, and fresh. 6 to 8 portions. 9 ounces shelled, unpeeled almonds. 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons granulated sugar. 9 ounces of carrots peeled and cut up into 1-inch pieces. 1/4 pound ladyfingers made crisp in a 325-degree oven for 20 minutes. 1 teaspoon cream of tartar, sold by drugstores as potassium bitrate, mixed with 1.5 teaspoons of bicarbonate of soda or 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder. 1 tablespoon amaretto liquor, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 4 large eggs separated, a 10-inch springform pan, 1 tablespoon of butter for greasing the pan, whipped cream topping made from 1 cup of heavy cream, and 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar. optional.
What's a ladyfinger?
So a ladyfinger is a type of cookie. And as you might imagine, it's a long, thin cookie. It's supposed to look like a lady's finger.
Or a finger.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That's lady.
Yeah. I think that really is attributed to the fact that it's a light, delicate style of cookie. So it's much more like akin to a meringue. Widely available in most grocery stores. So I don't know anybody that's like, I need to make ladyfingers at home. But I might be that person at some point.
You and Marcella. Yeah.
Yeah. So when she says made crisp in a 325-degree oven, that's usually going to refer to like ladyfingers that are maybe either soft ladyfingers or if you've made them yourself. Most commercially available ladyfingers are quite crispy, so they don't really need that treatment. And I think like when this book was written in the 1980s, that wouldn't have been the case necessarily. Because as far as I know, they're supposed to be almost spongy, but maybe I'm just kind of getting them intercrossed with Madeline's. So that might be part of my problem.
Gotcha. So it's interesting because as you read, she says this is a flourless asterisk cake, but most recipes for ladyfingers include flour.
I believe so. They usually will have some sort of dry ingredient like that to give them a little more structure.
So do you think she's using ladyfingers instead of just like flour and sugar and stuff because of that texture?
Probably. At this point, I have an idea of what the texture is going to be like for this cake, but I still am not 100% sure because I've never made one quite like this. Like I made things in this style, but they're usually made with flour, not cookies.
Yeah. It's very interesting to see like a fresh vegetable, a cookie, and nuts as
Yeah.
your cake.
The nuts especially, really any cake where you're using like a high percentage of nuts, you're going to use this, mix the egg yolk in and then whip your egg whites kind of leavening because those nuts are going to be really heavy. You need that egg scaffolding to hold up the cake in order to leaven it at all. This is very common for things that use a lot of nuts.
I see. Okay. Ladyfingers are cookies and they serve a kind of to be determined purpose in this cake, but it's a unique way to approach a cake.
Yes.
Gretchen's never even seen this before. That was my first question. What's a ladyfinger? My second question is what is cream of tartar? And then I have a like B part of that question, which is that whole part about cream of tartar and baking soda and bicarbonate soda was extremely confusing to me. Gretchen had to like explain it to me several times, and I had the book in front of me and I was like, no, what? This is what?
She's using kind of some old terminology there.
Cream of tartar, baking soda, and baking powder are basically the three things we're talking about in this ingredient list.
Yes.
Part.
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll start with the cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is just powdered tartaric acid. So it's an acid, which is kind of weird that you call it cream.
Yeah.
Acid.
Okay. pH scale.
It's tartaric acid. There are like anti-caking agents and stuff, so I think that's why they use that term versus just calling it tartaric acid. Or I think it tartaric acid. Well, I'm going to get a little wrapped around the axle as far as the pronunciation of that. But
so cream of tartar is an acid.
mm-hmm. We're going to talk about baking powder because this is where Becca got confused because she thought this was like the cream of tartar was important, but like if you don't understand what baking powder is, that really affects like how you understand this, how to read this particular ingredient section. And so baking powder is sort of the shortcut where it's already mixed together an activator of your bicarbonate of soda with something else. So that tartaric acid.
Can I take a guess at what I think?
If you want to, say what you're going to say.
Okay. So the way that I read that was you had to have cream of tartar and then you mixed that with either baking soda or baking powder. But in actuality, you just need baking. Oh my God, I have to get the book because I'm confusing myself. But you need just baking powder, or you need cream of tartar and baking soda, because the baking soda needs an activator.
Yes.
But the baking powder has it built in. So I didn't understand the difference between those two. So I assumed you got to have cream of tartar. I keep saying tartar, and then you mix that with either baking soda or baking powder. And Gretchen was like, no, you don't need cream of tartar. I was like, no, what? That's what it says.
She wrote it in a really confusing way where, yeah, I could definitely see, because there was another, we'll get to the other part that I was like, why did you write this way? This is very confusing. I also got really annoyed because she switched from ounces from the almonds and the carrots to a quarter of a pound of ladyfingers.
Yeah.
And I was like, why? Why would you switch weights, like weight styles? But when you kind of understand that she didn't actually, like, for the most part, she didn't write her recipes. She just made stuff, and somebody sat in the kitchen with her and actually like wrote these for her. So she's just talking and having somebody that
transcribes, kind of.
Yeah, that's how she wrote all of these recipes, is that she didn't necessarily like write them down. Somebody else was with her in the kitchen writing stuff down. It makes more sense when you know that, but I was also very annoyed by the switching of, I was like, but where was the editor? Where was the editor of this cookbook? So.
Where's my conversions to all ounces? Come on, people. Come on.
Right.
Yeah, make the recipe work for me. But that does help clarify. So the cream of tartar is an acid that doesn't that baking soda would need, but right. Baking powder is like, I'm good. I got my whole shit together over here by myself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
If you ever look at the back of the label, because I did this today to make sure I was like remembering all this quickly, but I was expecting it to have like an acid-based ingredient, and so like how you make baking powder is you add some sort of acid or activator to baking soda. So bicarbonate of soda equals baking soda. They're the same fucking thing.
Okay. So one, that was confusing.
Right.
Before we even got anywhere else, that was that naming convention was confusing.
So you kind of need to understand, which is like, again, part of this is that she wrote this book in the 1980s. So like baking powder was widely fucking available at that point. So I don't know if like she wrote this as like sort of trying to explain, or just that she's just used to doing it with the cream of tartar and baking soda.
Okay, that makes sense. That's so helpful to me just to understand that. I wonder if maybe she just thought having baking listed twice would be confusing. Baking soda, baking powder. So she put bicarbonate instead, but that made it worse for me.
I think older generations are more familiar seeing it as bicarbonate of soda, because it would have been something that you could have like bought at a pharmacy. Like they would sell it as like, because here's my other life-saving tip, because I actually had a boyfriend tell me this once, is that, and he was like, oh God, I have really bad heartburn, but I have no antacid like tablets with me. And I said, just drink some baking soda, because it neutralizes the acid. Like that's how it works. And that produces carbon dioxide. You get a little burpy, but like it helps take down that acid reflux a little bit. So if you're ever in a pinch and out of your Tums, you can just, it'll be really unpleasant to drink, but you'll feel better.
So interesting. Okay.
Gretchen's life-saving tips.
Yeah, really. I get bad acid reflux, so that is good to know. In a pinch.
In a pinch. Yeah. Like I would not just be like, do it. Like, I'm like, no, Tums are definitely like way easier to deal with than like drinking straight baking soda. That's like, I hate any of those toothpastes that have baking soda in them. Like I can't even use those things.
My grandma used to just use baking soda and like water. Yeah. I know. Yeah. Those were my questions. And then I think you were going to read the steps officially.
Yes.
Marcella guided
steps. Yes. Step 1, turn on the oven to 350 degrees.
Important.
Very important. Remember to turn on your oven. Put the almonds and sugar into a food processor or a blender and chop very fine. Transfer to a mixing bowl large enough to accommodate later all the other ingredients. Step 3, Chop the carrots as fine as possible in a food processor or blender and add to the bowl, mixing them with the almonds. Step 4. Break up the ladyfingers into small pieces and chop them in the food processor or blender until very fine. So I guess mine are okay. I was thinking I'd chop them too fine, but they're probably fine. Then mix with the other ingredients in the bowl. Step 5. Add the baking powder together with the liquor and the salt and mix thoroughly. Step 7. In a separate bowl, mix the mix the egg yolks with the other ingredients in the bowl. I skipped step 6. On to step 7. In a separate bowl, beat the egg whites until they form stiff peaks. Take 1 to 2 tablespoons or slightly more, depending on if you feel like following directions or feel like doing whatever the fuck you feel like doing, of the beaten egg white, and then mix it into the cake batter in the bowl to soften it a bit, because it will be dense. Then fold in the remaining egg whites gently. Step number 8, grease the bottom of the springform pan with butter. Oh, I've greased all of the springform pan. Whoops.
Every centimeter.
Also, notice it's not really a butterless recipe. It is definitely got a tablespoon of butter in there.
Yeah, quite deceptive. You can't say flourless and butterless if you're using flour.
Butter. And pour in the batter, leaving it without pressing it. Note, if you are not using a springform pan, line the cake pan with buttered wax paper before pouring in the batter. This will make it easier to remove the cake when baked. Step 9. Place the pan in the uppermost level of a preheated oven and bake for 50 to 60 minutes. Begin checking for doneness after 50 minutes by inserting a knife into the cake. When the knife comes out clean, the cake is done. Step 10. When the cake is lukewarm, remove from the pan. Serve at room temperature with whipped cream if desired. If it is not consumed the same day, wrap the cake, when completely cooled, in aluminum foil. It will keep for a week without refrigeration. That's it.
Like we said, it's not too complicated, but it does just take a little extra work on each step, like peeling the carrots and all those little things that add up.
Yeah, but we should know in a little bit whether or not that's all essential.
Yeah, totally.
So did you want to read Marcella's take on carrots from Ingrediente?
Yes, definitely. I'm super excited. I haven't read it because I love being surprised by what she says with you because she's so funny. I didn't read it in advance. But yes, this is Marcella's thoughts on carrots from the Ingrediente book. Carrots are the least problematic vegetable to buy, store, prep, and cook. No other can produce a more universally endearing flavor. A generous handful of chopped carrots, slowly sautéed, provides the sweet foundation of a bolognese sauce or a base on which to rest the step-by-step assemblage of a classic minestrone's many vegetables. When serving them entirely on their own, I am fond of slicing them into thin rounds and braising them slowly in butter in a broad skillet with just enough water replenished tablespoon by tablespoon to keep the cooking going without ever turning them until they become wrinkled and colored a dark orange brown.
I like this recipe. Might have to do this.
That sounds so good. With slow and patient cooking, the intensity of flavor that the humble root can release is a revelation. The one cooking method that does nothing for carrots or for anyone eating them is boiling or steaming. Water can be most unkind to carrots.
She's not wrong, because most of the nutrients in carrots are water soluble, except for, I think, beta carotene is more fat soluble. So actually you get more uptake of the beta carotene if you cook it with oil or something. I think we talked about that when we talked about carrots before, or if not, it's worth repeating.
We're saying it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Or saying it for the first time on the podcast. But she's not wrong. I like that, like, texturally. She's like, no, just no. Don't steam those poor carrots. I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. Not even steaming. All right.
I love how frank she is. Just the one method that does nothing for carrots or for anyone eating them. Like, how dare you? She's so how dare you. I love it.
I know. It's great.
Buy carrots that are brightly colored, smooth of skin, firm, not limp, and sound, not cracked. I prefer medium-sized carrots to overly large, which are doughy and not as sweet. If the tops are still on, you can easily judge their freshness. You may want to use the tops. I do not, but even if you do, cut them off before stowing the carrots in the refrigerator. Otherwise, they will drain away moisture from the root.
This is all true. Cannot argue with any of that. She's right on the money.
But you may want to use the tops. I do
not. I mean, I am intrigued by people because I've seen recipes for carrot top pesto and I find it very intriguing, but I always just end up giving them to my rabbits because my rabbits like them so much. So I'm like, I don't need to do that.
No, you don't need to test it out if something loves it as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick to my basil pesto, but they are really good for you is the only other advantage is that they do have a lot of nutrients in the tops. I don't know, maybe a basil carrot top pesto would be a really good thing to do so that you get that nice basiliness, but also the more nutrient packed carrot top. But
I just had an idea about carrot tops and radish as a little side salad thing with olive oil and
yes.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Store carrots in a plastic bag in the refrigerator's vegetable drawer, where they will keep for as long as 2 weeks. Before using the carrots, rinse them in cold water, cut off a thin disc from the stem end, and peel them using a vegetable peeler with a swiveling blade. I peel even small carrots. I don't mean miniatures, because otherwise they will have a slightly musty taste of earth. The end of carrots.
That outermost layer on carrots can actually be scrubbed off pretty easily if you use just a regular scrubber, like any kind of sponge. Although I'd use have one that you specifically use for vegetables, not just any scrubber that you're using all over the kitchen. That outer layer can be scrubbed a little instead of fully peeling if you want to minimize your vegetable loss. But I don't know if I agree with the musty thing, but
the earthy. Can't avoid it if the peel's on flavor.
I feel like she's not washing her carrots well enough, maybe. But I don't want to take that from Marcella,
I know we can't be coming in at the end all judgy with her. We've had such a glorious journey with Marcella. Is this the sixth episode of Marcella?
Yes, this will be our 6th in a row. We might as well just embrace when I'm obsessed with something and go full hog on it.
That's true. Yeah. We've been talking about her a lot ever since we talked about her tomato sauce and finally got the books in hand, and Gretchen was like, the heavens have opened, the seas have parted, and now there's only Marcella.
only Marcella. It really funnels into my deep love of Italian food. I think that's a lot of what's going on with that.
Totally. And she educates, which we love.
Yes. There are 19 minutes remaining on our cakes baking.
Okay.
I can already smell mine. Can you smell yours?
No, but I have moved away from the kitchen. I don't know. Do you want to check yours?
Yeah, I'll go look.
Okay.
See what's going on. I'm wondering if some of it has gone over the top and gone on the sheet pan because it smells so done. Oh, it's definitely very toasty on the top. Oh, it's pretty.
Any boilage over?
Nope.
Okay.
It did rise, it's risen so that, it definitely has risen at least another inch from where it was. I mean, it's probably set as far as height goes at the moment. I don't think it's going to get any taller. But
that's good.
It has about a centimeter to go from the top of the pan. Kenzie. Hi. Yeah, what am I doing? I'm just adjusting my shirt, you weirdo.
We haven't had a Kenzie visit in a while. One of the kitties at Gretchen's house.
You just feeling vocal today?
Got thoughts on your mind? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
What do you want? You want to go out? Let's see. So did we have anything else we wanted to cover?
Well, I didn't. Do you have final thoughts on Marcella? as we wait for our carrot cake to bake and we close out our Marcella month series.
Well,
Months and months.
I love Marcella. I can't really say that these are my final thoughts because we will definitely come back to her over and over. And I know I will be like, there is a veal with hazelnuts and balsamic recipe I want to take on.
You've already made her fig gelato, which we've not talked about at all.
Yeah,
So you'll have to catch us up on that sometime.
Technically I made peach gelato, but I used the fig recipe, not realizing she has a whole fucking section of gelatos. We definitely need to make her gelatos because she's got, like, her recipes are even easier than doing fleur de lis.
Yes, please.
I know Becca wants something that's easier than fleur de lis, so.
Yeah, which is hard to come by, like you said. It's like 2 steps.
Yeah, I really like the gelato recipes, but it was very good. So I will definitely do it again. And it was really easy. That's another advantage.
I like it. I think it's inspiring to me that you're so surprised, I guess, by some, like, it's very cool to, like, so much about cooking. You have so much technical experience or technical knowledge and actual experience. And it's fun for me when you have like a new learning or a new approach or something. And so it's been really cool for me to like see that happening, because when I first learned about her tomato sauce, for me it was super appealing because, one, it's like 3 ingredients,
right,
and 2, the onions don't stay a part of the final dish. So it was like super win-win. And her simplicity was always super appealing to me. And I've, even when we've been doing this like kind of deeper dive into her Italian kitchen book, I've still sought out the more simple recipes. And so for me, it's easy to think and make assumptions that she's just putting out very simple recipes. But then you're ready to take on these like uber complicated 20 steps, and you have such like passion and enthusiasm for it that it's just cool to me to see how wide her audience can be and how approachable or how complicated the Marcella journey can be for everybody. It's like a choose your own adventure. Like, you can seek out things that are literally 2 steps, or you can seek out these like very layered, multi-step, complicated recipes. And I find it so universally appealing. I'm just like in love with her approach to food and cooking.
I mean, I think what I find particularly enjoyable about it, even though you're right, I am kind of, I've got all this experience, is that like everything we've approached in this book, aside from the few confusing things that happen because like of just the way that she would have learned about food, being of that older generation. I think it would be the same with Fanny as well. Like,
sure.
if we dive deeper into Fanny at some point, then we will like get into some of that terminology stuff. But nothing in her book is like over the top complicated. And I think that is one of the larger appeals for her, and like why she was so popular for so long. And it is a fucking shame that people are not as tuned into her now, is that her recipes are really simple. Like our mains that we just made, that was really simple. I mean, technically we were talking about fish course and a meat course, so it's not really like mains like we think of it as in this country.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a discussion.
That's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We've already gotten into that. But she is so good at breaking it down so that it is understandable for people. And like, she does have just I'm looking at clean ingredients. I'm looking for that good quality. It's all about the quality. It's not complicated techniques, complicated ingredients. It's all like, I have these basic ingredients that I always have around. And like, it's funny because it also appeals to me because they're like always the ingredients I have around.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's just, it goes to show you that she knows, like, and given, not everybody's going to have their kitchen stacked like an Italian. I'm just a weirdo because I love Italian food, and I am in no way even remotely close to being genetically or, culturally Italian in any way. But I love Italian food so much that it is where my cooking skews. And that, yeah, she has a really great way about it. It's so exciting. And it's so funny that it's a relatively old book for something that I find so new, novel, and exciting. So this is me.
Totally. Yeah, it's been fun because I've taken away a lot from it, but I always take away a lot from what we do. And so it's been fun to me to see your new learnings and intrigue about her cooking. I remember when we first started this like series, we read her like ethos on cooking as like a language, and there are different dialects and there are different grasps of the ability to speak that language and levels of understanding. But it's very cool to me to keep that as like a through line from what we've done, even in terms of like what is simple and what is more complicated. It's the same way you speak. Like sometimes we speak very simplistically and sometimes we're much more like complicated in our language. And so I'm just going to hold that with me, I think, like with everything going forward, because I love that mindset that food is a language. I love the way that like connects cultures and people and geography and everything. And we already want to make several of the things we've already, like, we want to make again what we've made and try so many more of her other recipes. And this is just one book. So
I know.
I like say this casually and I also say this heavily, but like she's really changed my thoughts about cooking and the way that I like want to cook and the way I want to entertain and present food. And it's been awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm so excited. I'm so glad we did this.
I know, me too. It's always so fun, but there's something about Marcella that really speaks to us. And it's cool because I think it speaks to us in very different ways, or she does.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool too.
Okay, we have 7 minutes left on the timer.
All right, let's go. I can smell mine now. So we're getting
closer.
We're getting close.
I wonder if that difference in smell is just because I already had my oven on and you did not.
Maybe.
So mine was just had a little bit more heat behind it. And whereas, it's like, not like you threw it in first thing while it was cold, but still.
Yeah, a little delayed in the heat, in the like heat everywhere situation.
Exactly.
Okay. My top is a little browned. I think I might be done.
I was almost tempted to check it the last time. The thing is that you've got the carrots that are providing sugar, you've got nuts, you've got quite a few different things that are contributing to that caramelization on top. So I think that's why it browns very easily. But I don't think it would harm anything if we wanted to give it a poke.
I might rotate mine. It looks like
turn around.
The back half is not as
brown.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. What are words?
I'm gonna pop mine out, set it up top. Mine is very brown. I think mine's almost, I'm very tempted to think mine's done. Oh, it is done.
It's done.
I mean, I have a slight bit of crumb still on there, but.
Okay, I'm gonna go a little longer. Okay, mine's done too. Our cakes have cooled. We're ready to taste.
And mine is a very dark, nutty brown.
That's delicious.
Don't know how I feel about the texture though.
Really?
I'll be interested to see how I feel about tomorrow. Yours looks really nice. I like the texture of yours. Like it looks like you have some like larger chunks. Mine's pretty well homogeneous.
Like so banana bready. Yeah, mine's super light. It's squishy. It's real fluffy. And it's got really nice chunks still of carrot and nut. And it's really, really good.
Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have ground mine down quite so far. But flavor-wise, I like it. And it may be a whole different animal tomorrow. So I'll be interested to see what it's like tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
I kind of want to put melted butter on it or the whipped cream, which we didn't do. We're just tasting the cake on its own. But
I did use the granulated caramel. So I wonder if that has something to do with why it's so brown. Number one.
It is eggy to me a little bit.
It's got a lot of egg.
It does.
Overall, I really like it though. I do think I'd like to try it with the amaretti biscuits though, just to see.
More almondy.
And then it actually would be truly flourless because I think even the ones I got this last time don't have any flour in them. They're just almond. So
Yeah. Well, I wonder too, because we both did store-bought ladyfingers. So I wonder if we'd made from scratch ladyfingers, if that would have
changed it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Yeah. And yeah, it's a little bit too eggy for me. It's really good though, in terms of like a carrot cake. Like, I don't know if I'd make it again if I want carrot cake, but it's nice to have something that you can still taste like the carrots and the nuts, and it's not just like lost in the flour and sugar and sweetness of a cake. Like,
yeah,
it's a whole flavor experience versus just like, this is sweet. This is chocolatey.
I think maybe that's why it's so hard. Like with something like this, where it's like chocolate or hazelnut or something, like it might hide more of that eggy flavor for you. To me, I can tell it's more of a texture than a flavor necessarily. But I like it.
I do too. I'm glad we did it. I don't love it the way I thought I would, but I like it.
I thought it was worth the swing because I thought it sounded really interesting. When you brought it up that you wanted to do it, I was like, all right, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super glad we tried it because I think, I mean, we talked about like what it would look like if we did an egg substitute in this, and that would be really tough because of the egg white whipping. Yeah. But I wonder if there's also a way to do it with an egg substitute, you know?
Well, so there's aquafaba, which is the chickpea juice.
People use applesauce a lot.
Yeah, but that's not, I was like, I don't think you can whip apple juice or applesauce. I don't know if you can whip, but maybe you could because pectin would be the part that's doing most of the structural integrity part of that. So, and I'm not sure if you can whip pectin, but it's an interesting idea. So mostly I'm just over here going, hadn't thought of that before.
New experiment.
New thoughts, new ideas.
Well, I think if you're a person who loves carrot cake, this is a fun approach.
Or maybe if you're someone that doesn't like traditional carrot cake, because the traditional carrot cake, in my moderate amount of experience with it, involves a much denser formula. Like
which I love. I love that dense cake with cream cheese frosting. Like, where you're not tasting much. So that's why this is a nice spin to that. But
it definitely highlights the carrot.
Yeah. Oh. The carrot is alive in the carrot cake. For once.
For real.
For real for once.
For real for once.
Well, a success in tons of ways. I don't think we're both like, I love this. But I think this was fun. And this was a good experiment and a good learning.
Yeah.
And it tastes good.
For sure.
Yeah.
So next time when we do a Genoise sponge, you'll be ready to do it. So.
Yeah. Yes. Tell me what that is. I'm ready.
You're ready.
So we've got one more. Oh no, we're done with Marcella. This was our last.
For now.
Last Marcella, we're done for now. We're done with the Italian kitchen for now, I guess we'll say.
Yeah.
We'll never be done with Marcella. She's in our soul.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
Well, we'll have the recipe on hightogluttony.com. We'll link to it in the show notes and look for the post on the social medias and like and subscribe and tell 5 people you like.
Thank you for joining us on our Marcella journey. This has been amazing. We don't know what we're going to do next, so stay tuned and off we go.
Off we go.
Woo! And do some flamenco.
Yeah.